everyone, and welcome to Torah. We are live. We are live here at the Jewish Community Campus in Winnipeg. If there is any problem with the sound, let me know because I'm using a different microphone, and I need your feedback on how it sounds there. Here it sounds always the same because I'm not amplified for neither of you, right? Yeah. Anyway, welcome everyone in the classroom here in person. We have more people today, and yes, look at this, the back.
Yes, more snow.
More snow. It was more this morning. I think the temperature because it's not too cold. It's not too cold. Welcome Daniel B. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, please let me know. It's very important for me to know how the sound is going now that I got this. I sound great, thank you. You see, I got a podcast microphone. I always had a Temple Shalom for Zoom meetings, but then I realized when I use Zoom meetings, I have to wear headphones. So the headphones already have the microphone, so I don't really need to use this. Okay, so this week's parsha is called Chayei. Okay, are you looking for the text? Okay, very good. Chayei. The life of Sarah. Sarah was Abraham's wife. She dies at the beginning of the parsha. So what happened next is very interesting because we learn a few of the traditions that we have for funerals that are coming from this parsha. Interestingly enough, we don't necessarily read about a burial underground. I don't know if you noticed that. In a cave. This parsha mentions the funeral of Sarah, but it doesn't mention burial underground. It mentions that Abraham bought a cave. And it looks like
Because Moses, they didn't know where he was buried, and they thought that he was buried in a cave.
No. Moses died at the top of a mountain. Yeah, but the interesting thing is, of course, the Midrash will come. I said, yeah, he bought the cave, but he buried her inside the cave, right? But back in the day, there is no reference. But back in the day, it was very common. You buy a cave, right? And then basically what you do is you put the body there, and then eventually it will decompose, and you have a bunch of bones. In Europe, then it became more prominent that it's gross to think about it.
There were different kinds of burials.
But they used to have these
these
chambers. No, but they had the chambers. I don't know how to say it in English. In Spanish, it's called pudridero. Pudridero, it means that the word implies that it's something to make something rot.
Yeah.
So basically, the way they used to do it, they would put bodies there. It will totally decompose until there was nothing but bones. They will get the bones, and then they will put the bones in a niche.
Yes.
So
It's called
it's like composting. Yeah. It was.
ossuaries where they store the bones.
No, but this is after.
Yeah.
This is after. So it was still a way of not having to cremate a body, but not having to go through a burial.
They do the same thing right now in New Orleans because they can't go underground because it's too wet. They have
Everybody's on top of the ground.
Everyone's on top
All the
of the
graves are
ground.
on top.
And they have like
Niche.
shelves.
But
They
with
put the body in there, and when the body is finally decomposed and there's just bones left, they have a big hole in the middle, and the family bones go in there.
Okay.
But it's owned by the family.
Are you saying they dissolve the bones, like they put something in there?
no. The time will take it. So they will put the body there and come back 2 years later, and just to take the bones.
The body decays by itself.
Okay, I thought you said there
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It was crazy. And yeah, and then I know I'm not going to talk about this today, but there is a whole thing about if that kind of burial is kosher or not, because we know that we don't cremate, but this is a totally different way, right? Where you could eventually take the bones and bury just the bones, but you need like a small place instead of taking a whole grave, right? There are lots of halachic discussion in these days about that, and it all falls into the category of eco-friendly burials. And it goes all the way from dissolving a body, keeping the bones and burying the bones, to burying the body in a vertical position in a sack with a sapling, like a tree. So the tree will grow with your nutrients.
Yes.
That's another thing that is becoming popular. And then halakha said, believe it or not, that could be kosher. Only if you take the precautions that it's not a fruit tree. God forbid somebody will go and eat it. That's the only thing. The only thing. And then you can mark, because you have the obligation in Judaism, and we are going to see that this class, to mark the grave. So you can come back and visit. Marking the graves had two purposes, and two purposes only. It's interesting. Number one, so you will know where to come back and visit. And number two, so the Kohanim, the priests, will be able to see something and to stop before they get too close and then they get spiritually impure. Because there is a prohibition in the Torah that the Kohanim, the priest, cannot be in close contact with a corpse or a grave. So the whole idea why we put there a monument is for people to know where to go, but also and mainly so the priest will know, too close.
Funerals are always a problem for the Kohanim. A member of their own family.
Why?
You can't get close to the grave.
They can't go to the funeral.
They don't go to the funeral.
No, basically the Kohanim, they could go to the funeral for mother and father, except unless you were the high priest. Because what happened is, even if you get impure by a corpse, you can still purify yourself after.
Right.
So that's what they have to do. So you have either thyme and mikvah, right? Or the ashes of the paraduma, the red cow. That will purify you right away, if you have such ashes. But they were lost by now. But back in the day, they have this mixture that it was just to purify people that needed to be pure right away. Okay. So let's, with that introduction, let me see who else is here. I want to thank you. Welcome everyone. The Grossmans are here. Daniel B, I already said hello. Randy is here as well. So welcome everyone. If there's anybody else online, please let me know, and I will say hi to you. So let's bring this. So let's start talking about the death of Sarah. Okay? The way it's described in the Torah is very interesting to begin with. Right? At the very beginning of the parsha, so she died, she was 127 years old. She was older than Moses, by the way. It says, Batamot Sarah v'kriyat Arba u'Hebron. So basically she died in Hebron. We still have Hebron in Israel.
Yes, we do.
Okay? Ve'eretz Canaan, that was the name of Israel back then, Canaan. Vayavo Abraham lispod lesara ve'livkota. What is lispod? What is hesped in Hebrew? There is a word that is hesped. What is hesped? Eulogy. So in modern Hebrew and rabbinic Hebrew, if somebody will ask you to, you have to do a eulogy, you will call it hesped. With hey, hesped. Hey, samach, pei, reish. Dalet, sorry. Samach, dalet. Okay, hesped. So basically said that Vayavo Abraham, and Abraham came for what? Lispod lesara, to eulogize Sarah. Velibkota, and to cry for her. Two things. So the rabbis try to get from here halakha, Jewish law. They basically, you look at all these stories and say, okay, what can we learn? from this. One of the things we learned: somebody dies, somebody had to to write a eulogy. And why do you make a eulogy? So people can cry. And the whole idea of having a eulogy in the past was to make people cry. And if people, whoa, hold on. And if people wouldn't cry, people will hire what?
Oh, I remember the criers when I was a little
Ah.
girl outside the gates.
Criers,
The criers.
professional criers. I saw it only once. I was a little kid, and my next door neighbor died in Argentina. She wasn't Jewish, she was Italian Roman Catholic, okay? And my mom said we have to go express our condolences to the family. It traumatized me because the coffin was open,
Doesn't have to scare anybody at any
and I said, who is that? Because I guess I didn't really recognize the neighbor there, and she looked very creepy. And there was all these people crying, ladies. And my mom then explained to me,
There's always women, never men.
Why is it important to cry?
but not only in Judaism, it became like a biblical inspired tradition for many cultures that whenever it's a funeral, it's important to cry because it's part of the healing process. So if I cannot make you cry with my words, don't worry. I will hire these people that they will make you cry.
You'll cry.
Yeah, I'm just curious why crying feels. Why crying helps you.
It's like you let go. It's emotional release. Yeah. Some people, and then the Torah will forbid it. Some people will cut the skin, and it's specifically forbidden in the Torah as a mourning practice. It used to be a mourning practice. That's why the Torah forbids it. Same thing that when the Torah forbids tattoos, the tattoos are forbidden according to the Torah, but it seems that they were also related to mourning practices and other religiously inspired practices. Yes, Rocky.
So Abraham's eulogy was still
That's interpretation. All we learn here is that what he did is eulogize Sarah. He doesn't say to who. Did he call everybody and said, hey, let me tell you how wonderful she was?
literally first he eulogized and then he cried.
Yes, but.
Always a but.
Even though I always say that I don't like the word, right?
Yeah.
But there is a but. The but is, look at if you have the text there, you don't have the text, but you know what you have the text there? You know what they're doing? They're going online and then they look at the class there. There is a 10 seconds delay, but you can still see the text. So look at the words in Hebrew there. What it says, liv kota. Can you see that the one letter is smaller?
Yes.
Okay, so now, I will make it easier for you. Hold on.
So that's supposed to
You will see it in a second, the way I have it here.
Where do I find it?
Can you see it in yellow now?
yeah.
One letter is smaller. It's very difficult for me to translate that. But if you see in the English, liv kota means to weep for her. So I actually put 2 letters of weep, smaller. So you have the idea. And the idea is why the word liv kota will have a smaller letter. And then the rabbis explain that after you write and deliver a eulogy, the cry diminishes.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Like it's highest during, but goes low after.
Somebody dies, we cry. We write a eulogy. It's very emotional, intense, but it says that's the beginning of the healing process. So that's why the word liv kota, to cry for her, one of the letters is smaller. This is the beginning.
The Torah, one of the letters
Yeah,
is small.
yeah. In fact, if you read it from a Tanakh, you won't see the small letter. I had to edit it to show you how it appears in the Torah.
So
Okay.
the small is to say it's just the beginning.
Sorry?
The small letter is just
It's in the middle of the word to cry.
just to represent that this is just the beginning.
Is the beginning of start crying less. But that's why it's very important to be able to say it. Because the eulogy is when you praise the qualities of the person. That means that you take the time to acknowledge everything that the person did, right? And at the end of the day, what you do with that is, look, you go to the cemetery, you bury the body, and say, it's done, it's gone, nothing left. And then you will say, hold on a minute, what about everything that the person did? It stays with me, right? But you have to figure that out by yourself, or somebody had to help you do that, and that's the beginning.
There's the mitzvah about Shiva and Shloshim.
Also, but that's why. But the eulogy is the first step, and then you continue from there, and hopefully by the year, it will be a little better. Holy Mandelkern, thank you, Jerome. What she said, maybe she said maybe both the writing and the delivery of the eulogy help minimize the intensity. Well, it's therapy. It's therapy.
So going back to taxes, Rabbi,
But unfortunately, what I want to say, for many years, well, sometimes it still happens, rabbis don't allow people to write their own eulogies. I would mention the name because he always makes it public, Rabbi Stephen Blaine, the one who trained me. He does not allow people to write the eulogies because he likes to be in control of the service. And if you allow people to write the eulogy, they could make it as a me time, or they could say who knows what. He likes, he meets with the family, tell me everything you want to say, I will say it.
so no speakers after that.
No, or before. He's the only one. You tell me what you want to say, I will decide if it's going to be part of the funeral or not. Hey, but I was told that here in Winnipeg was like that for many rabbis. And then,
Certainly within the Orthodox world, it still is.
no,
Not anymore.
no, the Orthodox world, they will insist that what they call it the Bal Kriya. Bal Kriya is the one who had to wear the black ribbon. They insist that one of them be the one say the eulogy. Because here you will see that Abraham didn't hire a rabbi to do the eulogy. He did it, right? Okay, so what I wanted to say here is that from this verse we learn the biblical source of the eulogy. So it's not something that the rabbis made up. It's in the Torah. Okay?
It's also the first time that Jews bought land in Israel.
Oh, wow. Don't, not so fast, not so fast, not so fast. Okay, so but again, some people seems to read here that not only is the obligation of the eulogy, but also to cry. That one kind of fade out a little bit, and more people embrace the concept of celebration of life, right? We don't make people cry, we laugh together. I'm not saying good or bad, I'm just saying it's a trend. Okay? Let's continue. Now, it's interesting because the other thing that is in that verse, it says that Abraham came to eulogize and to cry. So the rabbi said, whoa, hold on a minute. Where did he come from? Listen to this. Midrash Rabbah. Okay? Midrash Rabbah says, Rabbi Levi said, Abraham came from the burial of his father Terach to that of Sarah. So basically, according to one Midrash, his father died, he went to bury him, then he came back to bury Sarah. Rabbi Yosef said to Rabbi Levi, what are you talking about? Did not Terach's burial precede Sarah's burial for 2 years? Oh my! You will see the balloons. It's because there is a camera. Look, if I do this, hold on. It's something with the Apple camera. I had to deactivate. I keep forgetting. So, Terach burial precedes Sarah for 2 years. Rather, said Rabbi Levi, where did Abraham come from? He came from Mount Moriah. What happened in Mount Moriah? Vayomer kachet bincha velech lecha. Elara Moria, 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 Moria. What happened? Isaac binding. So there is one theory that it says that
It was a very close span.
but basically Abraham got Isaac early in the morning, and he went, and then Sarah woke up and said, "Where is Abraham?"
Guess what?
And some of the servants said, "What do you mean? He didn't tell you he's going to sacrifice his son?" And said that killed her. According to the Midrash. That killed her. Can you imagine? You wake up in the morning and say, where are my husband and my child? Oh, you didn't hear? He's going to sacrifice him. Plop. Well, who knows? But doesn't matter. Those are the theories, right? That's what happened here. So, yeah. But then the rabbis explain. Let me continue with the concept of where Abraham came from. And listen to this. Where Abraham came from is the central part of his eulogy to Sarah. So basically, the rabbi said that extra word in the Torah is important to understand what he said and what was his mindset when he did the eulogy. From where did Abraham derive the ability to fight the trend of idolatry so prevalent in his day? Who was his inspiration? We all know how wonderful he was, right? He was able to leave his homeland, leave behind all the idols and everything. And he was able to, quote unquote, convert people to the one God faith. What was his inspiration? Let's continue. Sarah, right? Said, how was he able to stand strong as Abraham Ivri, with the whole world ideology on one side, ever, and him on the other? You know that we are calling Ivrim, is one of the, how do you translate Ivri? Hebrew. So we are Hebrews because Abraham was called Ivri, comes from Me'ever, which means the one who came from the other side. Sometimes it's understood from the other side of the river, but the Midrash understand from the other side of society, right? You stand for one thing that I don't. So I don't care that you're a majority. I don't believe that your values are kosher. Okay? So that's why the description of him as Ivri was so important. So let's continue with this. They said, how was he able to stand strong as Abraham Ivri with the whole world's ideology on one side, ever, and him on the other? This strength of character was gleaned from his Eshet Chayei, his, how do you say it, righteous wife, Sarah. Rabbi Levi states that Abraham came from Terach burial to Mount Sarah. Abraham was aided in burying Terach and his idolatrous ideology through the inspiration of his virtuous wife, Sarah. Rabbi Yossi also addressed Sarah's righteousness, but in a different context that we are going to see in a minute. So in other words, what does it mean that right before the funeral he went to bury his father? It means that he came from realizing that thanks to Sarah, he was able to cut ties with the ideology of his father. I don't know if you heard what Schwarzenegger said in a couple of days ago. Arnold Schwarzenegger, that he said that he won't be in the same place that his loser Nazi father. That's the way he called it.
Was that the Wiesenthal Center?
Sorry?
The Wiesenthal Center, that speech he gave.
Yeah, I said, but he called it my loser Nazi father. Sometimes I'm thinking, that takes strength to say, right? Who gave you that? I mean, I'm pretty sure that somebody in his life was mentor him into realizing that, right? So in this case, it's almost like Abraham is saying, I'm cutting ties with my loser, idolater father. What was his inspiration? Sarah. So in other words, and he came came to realize, but he's telling you, the Midrash is telling you what, okay?
Well, what does the law there? It speaks of the journey, but it also speaks of the person saying, I am not my father.
Yeah,
I am not my father.
yeah. So let's continue with this. That, by the way, let's continue. The second reason, how was Abraham able to withstand the test of Akedah? Prepared to slaughter his beloved son to fulfill God's will. That's another thing that he needed inspiration. If God comes and said, hey, Abraham, sacrifice your son to me. Right? How can you do that? Where will you have the energy, the strength to go against your instincts to do that? Let's continue. Furthermore, how was his son Isaac able to unflinchingly permit himself to be offered? This was made possible through Sarah's holiness, which permeated her family and household. The strength of character possessed by Abraham and Isaac was gained through her aid. This is the point of Rabbi Yosef, who states that Abraham came to Sarah's burial from the Akedah at Mount Moriah in Hebrew. It's that even the strength to withhold the most difficult test also came from Sarah. And that was the center of his speech, of his eulogy.
How did Sarah get so strong?
Well, but at the end of the day, what the rabbis explained, that the strength that he really got is to say to Isaac, we should go through this with faith, because the way Sarah taught me about God won't allow this to happen. And in fact, that's what happened.
But we have to do this with Kavanah because we can't fool Hashem.
Well, but no.
Hashem would know if we were not
No,
serious about it.
but he was serious. If you go through a test, right, knowing that, I trust that God will never put me in a situation where I will have to do something bad. Even if it looks like it won't happen. That is faith. And that's what Abraham did, basically. It's not that he knew that he will never have to sacrifice his son.
I guess what I'm saying is,
And he did.
Do you think there's a chance that the faith was so strong that he thought, even if I do have to do this, it's for a good reason, because God wouldn't have me do it for nothing?
No, I think he knew.
You think he called God bluff?
I think it was. I think is the test was to know how much. The topic of the test was how much do you know God.
Right.
That was the last thing. But by the way, I don't want to go into details. But the rabbis,
are you the man I think you are?
the rabbis said that Abraham has to go through 10 tests. This was the big one.
This is attributed to Isaac too.
Yeah, but then this is one midrash. There is another midrash that said that pretty much that Isaac was messed up. He said midrash is a rabbinic story to try to fill up the gaps in the Torah. So the Torah doesn't tell you a story, and midrash will try to fill up the gaps. That's why you should never take a midrash literally. It's not factual. Okay. There is another midrash saying that Isaac was messed up for life after that experience. And the other midrash, they say when Sarah actually heard that he went to sacrifice Isaac, he died. Her heart stopped. Okay, so there are many things. Just wanted to share that with you. Now, he wasn't young at all. I can't remember. It was in his 40s, I think. Because immediately after she...
7 days old is what we're
No, because you will see in the Torah, immediately after she dies, I would say at the end of the Shiva, Abraham sent one of his servants to pick up a wife for Isaac. So it's interesting, at age 40, somebody else will have to go pick up the wife for himself. And why is that? Because Abraham didn't want Isaac to leave the house. He's the only patriarch who didn't get out of the land of Israel.
Why did he want to leave the house?
We don't know. Maybe Abraham thought that, if he leaves, he goes to Egypt or another place, he's not strong enough to remain faithful. And
Abraham knew he had a father like
Maybe, yeah. But then at the end, Kabbalah, the mysticism will come back and to say that it was all about describing the three patriarchs with three different qualities within the tree of life, right? Abraham was the giver. Isaac was the one who knew the limits. He never, the limits. He knew, he represents limits. Abraham is no limits. Isaac is limits. And Jacob is the balance between the two. The one who's, it's yeah. Anyway, so let's go into what I actually wanted to teach you about today, and is the plot burials, right? So if we go now to the next text, this is from Genesis 23, verses 3 to 4. So immediately after the eulogy and the crying and that, it says, then Abraham rose from beside his dead and spoke to the Hittites, saying, okay, who are the Hittites?
Not the tribe that was Israel.
Yeah, and it looks like their business, the business was the selling of plots. Right, that was their trade, because they probably owned or a section of land with lots of caves, right? So this cave is for you, this is for you, this is for you. So there were family plots, right? So how do we know that? Because basically, let's continue and I will tell you. Abraham rose from beside his dead and spoke to the Hittites, saying, I am a resident alien among you. Sell me a burial site among you, that means in your land, that I may remove my dead from burial. Okay? So it's not necessarily burial underground. Likbor means to put the dead to rest in a place in this context. Okay? So because the word used here in Hebrew is likbor or likbor et meiti. In modern Hebrew, that will translate to bury my loved one or my dead. But in likbor means in this context means, you know, that I put my relative who just died to
resting place.
resting place. The kever. It's that's a translation. So basically, that my dead won't stay with me. I will put it somewhere else. Otherwise, it will start rotting in front of me, right? That's the whole concept here. And in Judaism, one of the reasons why we bury a body is because having a body decomposing in front of you is disrespectful for the body. For the body, it's a big no-no. So you have to prevent rotting of the body outside the burial. So we refrigerate if we cannot bury right away. Okay, so and it's interesting because Abraham was promised this land by God. The land of the Bnei Het was part of the land that God promised to Abraham. Abraham could just go and take it. He said, hey, God said that this is mine. No, he went, and then I will fast forward here. So the answer of the Hittites to Abraham is no. On the house. Pick, you said, you are a very important man here. Everybody knows who you are, right? You're a holy man. I guess had some reputation, for welcoming strangers and doing things for other people. He was famous. Take whatever you want. Nobody will prevent you from picking any plot that you want. And Abraham said, no, I insist. I want to pay for it.
He says, no. Not like give me.
Give me, but for the fee. Because, well, if you continue, you will say that they said take it for free, and he said no, I want to pay for it just in case somebody will read it from a legal point of view like you.
I'm just making sure you read the whole thing.
Yeah, and then Abraham said, I'm going to pay for it.
Always find prison.
And then say, okay. They said in that case, they gave him the full price, no discount. Okay? And Abraham paid full for it. And the rabbi said that it was the first reference of, I guess we call it a Jew, buying a piece of land in Israel. Yes.
Why is it he's a resident alien if he owned the land?
Because he didn't feel that he owned the land. He feels that he's living there, and for now he's not. Even though God promised that land to him, he said one day my descendants are going to take full control of the land.
And what was the name of that land?
Israel. Back then was Canaan. Canaan. Or Canaan.
Abraham knew it, but not everybody else knew.
But where did he come from?
Been
If
part
he
of
wasn't
the genteel nature of the negotiation of the price.
Yeah, no.
Oh no, we give it to you for nothing.
Yeah, but that's what the rabbi said. The rabbi said that Ephron, the Hittite, gave him a exorbitant number, hoping a negotiation. And the Midrash said that they were shocked when Abraham said, no negotiation, I pay you full price. Because the rabbis explained the historical connotation of owning a land. That there would be no way to say that wasn't legitimate because you didn't pay fair price for it. So whatever you think this piece of land is worth of, I'd pay for it. And it happened. It happened. No negotiation. It's amazing. So let's go now to the Talmud. Okay? Now it's interesting, and let me read this first, and I will explain why Abraham wanted to buy the cave and not to bury Sarah in the backyard. Okay? Listen to this. I'm going to the Talmud now. Babylonian Talmud, Masechet Sotah. It says, it also stated with regard to the spies. Remember, fast forward when Moses sent the 12 spies to the promised land. And I'm saying the 12 spies because a generation later, Joshua will send only 2 spies. These are the original ones, the 12 spies. One of the spies was, I will say here. Fast forward to the spies, it said about them, they went up into the south and he came to Hebron. Okay? Are you paying attention to the language? They went up to the south and he came to Hebron. Bad grammar. Even me, English is not my first language. Yeah. I can tell that that's bad grammar. That if you type this in Microsoft Word, you will put a blue line under. And I said, check that the one is they, the other one is he, right? Anyway, why is the phrase and he came written in the singular form? The verse should have said, and they came. Rava says, this teaches that Caleb in English, separated himself from the council of the other spies and went and prostrated himself on the graves of the forefathers in Hebron. Aha! He went to visit the patriarchs. Why Caleb and not Joshua? We don't know. But the Midrash said that was Caleb, not Joshua. He said to them, my forefathers, pray for mercy for me, so that I will be saved from the council of the spies. One interpretation of this is why Caleb and not Joshua, because Joshua was strengthened by God already. God changed his name, remember, from Hosea to Yehoshua. And so God gave him extra strength, not to Caleb. So Caleb was up to him, to find ways to strengthen his faith. It didn't come explicitly from God. So what did he do is there were all these legends that he heard that the patriarchs were buried in Hebron. So what he did is he broke from the group of spies and he went and find out where in Hebron was this place. He went there and he prayed to the bones, I guess, of the patriarchs. So the question here is, what do we learn from this? And the rabbis had a very interesting thing. Number one, that's why Abraham decided to buy a plot that it was easy to find. If you bury somebody in the backyard, eventually you won't find the place because people will come and go. How long are you going to live? 110 years, 20 years? Then your children, grandchildren, and eventually there will be another construction. It happened in multiple civilizations. You will see in some cities in Europe that they dig and there is a cemetery there.
They're still finding cemeteries.
Jerusalem, they've gone down to the Byzantine era.
They're still finding graves.
It's like four stories down below the.
Yeah, but if I take a cave in a mountain, it stays. That was Abraham's. But it makes sense. It makes sense. It's a family plot, right? It has to be something that will be easy to find, and that might be part of the marketing of the Hittites. Hey, bury your dead with us, you will always find it. Because we have all this thing already figured out. Okay? So, it's very interesting. But the other thing that we have here is it okay to go to the grave and pray to them? According to the Talmud, Caleb said to them, to the patriarchs and matriarchs, huh? Oh, how you call it? My forefathers, pray for mercy for me so that I will be saved from the counsel of the spies. It was a prayer. In fact, it was like a very interesting prayer. It's asking the dead to intercede.
It's hello, I'm here, and my forefathers have whatever, and since you were in
Hold on. You know,
Which is interesting considering we don't believe in heaven and hell.
no heaven and earth. But we believe that, we do believe that the dead are closer to God, right? So basically he said, he went to visit Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah. Rachel was buried in a different place, right? Sarah and Leah, I guess. I said, please, give me the strength so I won't be convinced by the other 10 spies.
he'll stay true. He
That's
won't be
what.
coerced-
That's the
won't be
prayers.
coerced by them. Yeah.
Because I said, I'm weak. I'm struggling here. So please give me the strength that I need. And it was a prayer on a grave. So that presents a problem that we are going to see in a minute. Let's continue. And I want to say what I mentioned before. Rachel was specifically buried on the road to Hebron. She died before they could reach there, so there was no way for them to reach the place that she was buried by Jacob on the road. So the rabbis explain Rachel was specifically buried on the road to Hebron, so her descendants could visit her at a time of need and have her pray to Hashem on their behalf. Same thing.
An intermediary.
If you don't believe me, go and listen to the song Mama Rochel by Yaakov Shweki. It's an English song. And the refrain goes, Mama Rochel, cry for us again. Won't you shed a tear for your dear children? It's a concept in Jewish tradition that people go to pray to Rachel, so she will cry to God, and God will be moved by her tears, and she will answer your prayers. Well, I mentioned this because, hey guys, you come to study Torah. I have to teach you this. So you will know that Judaism,
A lot of memories for me.
Judaism is more than Torah and Talmud. We also have these traditions embedded,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that made the way into halakha. You will see in a minute. Let me continue here.
So that wasn't a cave, that was underground, Rachel?
Rachel was underground, but it was an oil that it was like a construction that it was built there, so the place could be found. And you can go in these days; they're still there.
Israel and a lot
And then,
of it is significant. There are
if you are into Kabbalah, that's where they make the red strings that people wear.
I can't tell you.
They wrap it around Rachel's tomb to imbue that red string with the special powers coming from Rachel. Because otherwise nothing stops you from going to Walmart to get the red string. You get a little bit of a yarn, red yarn, cut it and put it there. They say, no, you have to pay I don't know, whatever they charge you, because it's coming from the holy grave of Rachel.
I'm sure that they still do, but certainly when I was there, as you go down the steps towards the kotel, there would be old ladies with yarns, balls of
Coming
red
from
yarn,
from Rachel's tomb.
balls of red yarn, and you would give them whatever,
Yeah.
shekel or whatever, and they would cut off a length.
But it's coming from there. Oh, you should Google it. It's huge into Kabbalah. You probably saw Madonna, that she always have the red string. I think it's in the left wrist,
She made
and,
it
and you need to have 7 knots.
Generically popular.
And it's supposed. No. She had the original.
But she made it popular
Yeah.
for
She's very close to the Kabbalah Center. So the red string is supposed to be a stop to the evil eye. Evil eye. And it's interesting how historically the color red was stopped. Just saying. Okay, let's continue. We're running out of time and this is amazing. Okay, so let's continue now. The problem is, let's fast forward to the 13th century now. Okay? 13th century France, Rabbi Chaim Paltiel, he said the following: those who make a vow to visit the cemetery, it's talking about all of us that sometimes we can go to the cemetery to visit our relatives. It slightly seems to me like Doresh el Hameitim, necromancy. Necromancy, like a doing things with body parts of people who died, is explicitly forbidden in the Torah, right? Or like sometimes there are mediums that they will use human bodies or human bones to communicate with the afterlife. The Torah specifically forbids that explicitly. So these rabbis said, go into the cemetery to pray to the bunch of bones, right? He said, it seems to me that it's like Doresh el Hameitim, necromancy, which is forbidden, right? As the allowance of Caleb, we're talking about now the spy who went to pray at the forefathers' grave. I said the allowance of him, of that, was because it was a holy place of the Avot, of the patriarchs. And he wanted his prayers to be heard. So according to this rabbi, it is okay to visit the grave of a holy rabbi or holy rebbe, but not a relative.
Why would that be?
Well, because he...
What are the words in the Torah from which you derive that?
Oh, the Torah doesn't say anything about visiting the dead. It just says that you cannot use bones, right, as part of a ritual or part of a prayer. And I said, going to a...
Do they extend that to falling on the grave?
Well, now we are rabbis debating about how do we understand that verse. It doesn't. So basically, it says when the Torah forbids that, it means that you cannot have a bunch of bones, throw it on a table, because what they will do is sometimes there was this ritual, they will get a bunch of human bones, throw it on a table, and depends on how they fall, they will read it. That's forbidden. That is Doresh el Hameitim. Okay, forbidden.
This is drawing a distinction.
But then for this rabbi said, but for me, going to a cemetery to pray to a bunch of bones, even though they're buried, is equivalent to that. Unless that you go to a holy site.
So it's a class distinction.
Yes.
They didn't do that now, don't they? They go in Europe. Every year there's
To Uman.
Oh, you mean to Rebbe Nachman?
Rabbi Nachman. But they do it in Brooklyn. They go to the Rebbe of Lubavitch. Yeah, to the Ohel.
To many of the cities,
And they
particularly in Sfat,
and they pray to the Rebbe, send Mashiach.
and there are pilgrimages to those graves.
Send Mashiach, they pray to the Rebbe.
Mausoleum walking.
Anyway, okay, let's continue now because you can expect that somebody will answer to this guy, right?
Okay.
So let's go now to the actual Shulchan Aruch, which is the code of Jewish law, but that is in the 1500s now. Okay? So, they say the Jewish people have already held on to the custom to visit graves. And there is no one who protests. So basically, by the 1500s, said this is a tradition, nobody complains about it. Going to the cemetery, talking about, and praying to the graves.
So basically, it's a well-established Hajj, so we can't.
So, but let's continue. And it has a source in the Zohar to daven, to pray by the grave of one's forefathers. Here, forefathers mean relatives, okay? Not the original forefathers, relatives. To be saved from punishment in their merit. And there is already a Seder Tefillah printed for those who visit the graves of their forefathers, and no rabbi should make people abstain and nullify this custom. So basically what it says is by the 1500s, there were already books published of what to say at the cemetery. It's like if you go to the Shari Zedek now, Estelle will give you that. But so for the 1500, they already existed, people went there, it's a healthy practice. Don't listen to any of these crazies that they will say that that's necromancy. That's nonsense.
Zohar was really popular then.
Also. But let's continue and listen to this. Oh, here is how much he paid. Sorry. Here is, Abraham got to the point, now he's talking about the negotiation with Ephraim, right? The non-negotiation, that he paid 400 shekel and he bought the plot, okay? He wanted to say the plot is mine. Listen to this now. This is fantastic. On the matter of acquiring burial plots for the living, okay, there are those who say that there is a segula. You know what a segula is? A protection. It's almost like an amulet, right? So it's like an armor. Yeah, it's a protection. Listen to this. He said, he's talking about buying a plot where he's still alive. Okay? He said, buying the plot is a segula for living a long life. You follow? And the reason for this is because of the righteous do not worry about death. As it is written, you are the children of the Lord your God. Do not cut yourself or shave the front of your heads for the dead. Those were two very common mourning practices, cutting the body, shaving the head. From here we learn that the closer one is to God, as denoted by the term children, the less one fear death. Okay? So the prohibition of bad mourning practices is accompanied in the Torah by the word children of God. And the Talmud writes concerning, therefore let all the faithful pray to you while you might be found. This is from the book of Psalms, that this refers to death. For in death a man corrects all that which he sought to rectify all the days of his life. Thus, one who purchases a burial plot demonstrates that he does not fear death, for he knows that there is an afterlife and does not want to be cremated, and he shows his belief in the resurrection of the dead. So in other words, what it says is that if you buy a plot right now, you're guaranteeing that your family won't cremate you after to save money.
Well, that's one way to look at it.
But that's what I always say. It's a practical reason. So even that thought, but I said, even that thought,
Well, they could sell it.
is a segula, is a protection for you. The fact that you are showing such a commitment, with the way you care for your afterlife. So the tradition from here is that if you can, you have to buy a plot while you're still alive. You should never fall on your children.
Sam Redchap bought himself a plot, but he still owes the shares at $15. He will not pay that off.
Sam, don't even talk to me about Sam and his Michigas.
Okay? And this is what I wanted to teach you today, guys. This is what I wanted to teach you. I learned a lot myself when I did all this little research about this, and I want to tell Estelle in the office, to the funeral director, about all this. People should buy the plots, while they are alive, so it's a segula, so they can have a long life. And she turns around and she showed me all the documents of the sales of the plots and said, I think you're right, Rabbi. All these people here haven't died yet.
What is the, okay, I have a story. I'm sort of new to all this. No, it's the Torah and the Talmud the same thing?
Yes and no. The Torah is the written law. The Talmud is the compilation of oral law. So basically, if you believe the rabbi's narrative, God explained to Moses how to understand the Torah. Moses took all that information orally and transferred to Joshua. Joshua transferred to the next generation and so forth. There was a time, around 2,000 years ago, that there were so many conflicting versions that the rabbis decided to get together and to write it down. That's the Talmud.
No, the written one is the Torah.
And the Torah is the one you buy in a book. Genesis,
But who wrote the Torah?
Moses, through God. But it's only 5 books, the Torah. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That's the Torah. Okay, only those 5 books.
Wrote that?
Yes,
Directly from God.
yes.
And then all the interpretations and the oral.
That's the Talmud.
That's the Talmud.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the, I don't know, either the Torah or the Talmud, when it talks about buying a plot when you're alive, what does it say about buying a plot with your family versus without your family? Like, can I buy a plot on my own?
You can buy a plot of your own, but most people will buy it with a family in mind, so they're all in the same section.
Yeah.
The same way that Abraham was sure that there would be enough space for the whole family.
Does the Torah say anything that forbids someone from buying a plot away from their family?
No. But what they recommend, if you ever do that, let it be in the land of Israel. So you buy a plot in Israel. I wanted to add all that, when you can take somebody from underground to move it. Israel, burying in Israel is always take priority. Okay, I had to stop the stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Remember, the class is going to be rebroadcasted tonight at 8 p.m. Yeah, 8 p.m. Central Time. 8 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so thank you everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, and I hope to see you soon.